Is it promotion or bust for Kieran McKenna? Welcome back to Where the Town Walk with myself, Luke, and today we've got Ian and Rich talking all things Ipswich, including this week's A to Z and tweet of the week. Rich, putting it politely, that was a pathetic performance. After throwing away the cup game, there was so much pressure on getting all 3 points, and it was far from what we expected, wasn't it?
Well, we sort of spoke last week, didn't we, about you making 10 changes, and I think we were. If you listen to McKenna, he wasn't that bothered that we went out the cup. We obviously were. We were more disappointed with the performance, and then we went there this week thinking we sort of could pick the 11. I think we said that last week on here that we sort of knew who would play if everyone was fit. So we went back to the lineup that played at Derby, and I mean, look, if you were neutral, it was a 8-goal thriller, but we're all blue and white here, so it was a bit of a disaster. I think if anyone said that we'd score 3 goals away, Luke, we'd probably all think that we'd probably win the game. I think if you go away and you score 3 good goals, I think you'd say you come away with 3 points. But the defending, oh my Lord, it was Sunday League. We'll get into it. We never laid a glove on Kiefer Moore. I mean, I watched him yesterday and I'm thinking it's literally, that is everything that we don't have at our football club. You know, he run the channels. He was strong. He scored. He can lay it off. He can do everything. He just lacks a bit of pace. But he is what you need in the Championship, Luke. And I know Town fans will say, why didn't we sign him when we got promoted? He wasn't what we needed then, but he's someone that we need now. But we've spoken here about your strikers, and like we've said, we just have to go with what we've got. And yeah, disappointing result. Interesting comments after the game from Leif Davis, which we'll probably get into. But yeah, just all round not good enough.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it was a mentality thing for me. We had no hunger. I was saying before we went live that we looked like a team that was 14th, 15th, nothing to play for. And we've got so much to play for. And yeah, we'll touch on Davis's comments afterwards, but it's all right saying it after the game. It's about showing it in the game, shall we? So yeah, I was very, very disappointed with the performance as much as the result, if I'm honest. Even at 3-2 up, I don't really think we deserved it. We scored some really nice goals in terms of the finishes, but yeah, it was a crazy game, wasn't it, Ian? As Rich touched on, to score 3 away from home and still lose the game is not normal at all, is it?
Yeah, I think we should rename us Where the Town Stumble, because Wrexham haven't been a prolific goal scoring team at home. This is a thing, and then to bang 5 in against us, I mean, they showed a degree of resilience to come back and put 3 in the first half. But for me, like Rich touched on, some of the passing was diabolical at the back, and I think when O'Shea gave that ball away for, I think it was at the 4th goal, there wasn't so much the fact he gave the ball away, but then he was so easily bullied off it by Kiefer Moore in the challenge to pick up the loose pass. So that was just, he's a full international for the Republic of Ireland. He should not be getting bullied by anyone. So that was frustrating. And, from a tactics perspective, when I watched it, it was interesting that our double pivots at the back, I just don't think they gave the back 4 any support. And that's really where Moore was splitting them, because they were quite forward, hence we managed to get 3 goals on the road. But there was a real breakdown in that middle. We had 4 different players playing those pivot in one game, with the 4 substitutions across those 2 positions. And that really didn't help. Although I was quite happy to see Dan Neil put in what I thought was a fairly solid appearance when he came on, and really looks like I would almost say a pinned on starter for Watford. So, but we'll see. We'll talk about that in the week. But yeah, I mean, inconsistency at the back. If we're complaining about the front, the back are doing well, and if it's the other way around, and it was a bit like Joe Royal football. You score, we'll score, and we just can't do that now, and we can't keep relying on Middlesbrough tripping up, which is what they kindly did for us. So
yeah. No, definitely. Well said, both of you. I feel like it's a mixture of things. The mentality we have spoke about. I also thought there was a lack of tactical awareness from both McKenna and the players. Again, we always say, obviously, who are we to question the guy? But we all going to have our opinions. And Wrexham didn't change their team from the cup game. We did. So we could have looked at the cup game of how they played. They liked overloading the flanks. And we didn't notice that. We didn't learn that. So what they were doing is with Moore and Windass, they were splitting and they were creating overloads on the flanks, and that was pulling O'Shea, pulling Kipper. And it was like, why didn't we learn that? We could see that from the first game in the Cup. We throw that game away, but we need to take some lessons from it, surely. And we still didn't. It was very frustrating. I think game management is something that McKenna mentioned after the game, and something that I definitely noticed as well, where we're pushing for that fourth goal. We've so exposed, and I think we just didn't get a grasp on it from then going forward, Rich. It's something you spoke previously about, leadership within the group, and that comes into it. We need to know how to manage a game, don't we?
It's interesting as well, Luke, because you think that we've had a spare week. They've had a game and they've played at Bristol, but they just looked hungrier than from the first whistle. And I don't want to signal certain players out, but I thought Jack Taylor done some really good things in the game, Luke. But I think he's starting the game. I think he's given the first 3 times he's got the ball, he's give it away, and it was the start that what you're getting when you go to Wrexham. They're going to come out the blocks. They're going to be on you. They're not going to give you any time. They're not going to give you any space. But and I've said this before, I think when we're at home, your home comforts, it's all so easy for us. You're there, you've got your home fans, you sleep in your bed on a Friday, you get the coach to the ground on a Saturday. When you go away from home, it's going to be difficult. We were there yesterday, just over 1,000. I thought it was a great atmosphere. Fair play to Wrexham, little bit different sort of setup down there, as in like your stadium. And I liked it. I thought it was a really good game. I thought fair play to their fans. It was a great atmosphere. But we have to manage their moments in the games. I still think at 3-2, that's the time when we should have gone for the jugular and got another goal, because I thought we were well on top, Luke, for about 15, 20 minutes after half-time. I thought, if we get another goal here, I think we're going to win the game. But then we leave ourselves so exposed. I mean, the equaliser, Broadhead runs about 30, 40 yards. The midfield just sort of open up, and he's got the whole of the racecourse ground ahead of him, a little bit lucky how it deflects to Thomason and he pops it away. But from that moment in the game, there was only one team winning that game. And it wasn't the team that we all support, And that comes down to, leadership on the pitch there. And we spoke before, I don't think O'Shea's a great captain, and I didn't think he had a great game yesterday. But as a collective, you've got to be able to manage their moments. It's your game IQ. You've got to think, right, they've just scored here. We just need to hang on here for 10, 15 minutes, get a foothold in the game, make it. Maybe we have to play a little bit more direct into the corners, but we don't. Then we give another poor goal away from the corner. But even at 4-3, Luke, we're still in the game. You're still in the game there. Dar O'Shea, that's not just a one-off, that error that he done yesterday. I've seen him doing it 2 or 3 times this season. That's just a lack of concentration. That's nothing about ability or anything. He's just literally under no pressure there. He's given the ball away. It's 5-3 and it's game over. So, yeah, look, it's tough on the road. And you've only got to look where we are in the form table. We're 14th. We've won 5. I think we've drawn 4. We've lost 6. And if that form continues, I was reading tonight before I come on, Don Goodman says, if that form continues, we're not going to make the top 2. I know, like Don Goodman's probably not flavour of the month among town fans, but he's absolutely bang on the money there, because if that away form continues how it is, we're going to have to settle for the playoffs, Luke. And then, do you fancy us over a 2-leg playoff game with the mentality that we've got at the minute? It's all down to the players. They've got bags of ability, and we've spoken here before about the team we had before, the back-to-back team, and they had that mentality. And we spoke about Morsey, and I still go on about him today. I still think that was a bad move letting him go, because that was leadership on the pitch. But it wasn't just him on the pitch who was a leader. Chaplin, Burgess, Luongo, you all had them. But this is a new group now, but we still keep seeing the same failings on the road. And if it doesn't get sorted soon, we're going to be resigned to the playoffs. And then your season could be down to a refereeing decision. You don't know. So I'm really interested to see how we go on Tuesday at Wrexham and at Watford, and what sort of reaction that we show, because I'm hoping it's going to be a good one, and it has to be.
Yeah. there has to be a reaction. There's no like, oh, there has to be a reaction. We got some brilliant comments coming through. Do you think we overplay at the back when we don't need to? Obviously, O'Shea makes so many mistakes by doing that. I personally agree. I think we do. I'd love to see us be a little bit more direct. And by direct, I don't mean oofing the ball forward. I mean playing through the lines, 1-2 touch, getting it, playing it through the lines. So, yeah, it's definitely a concern with playing at the back. And I think O'Shea, Ian, he's coming to a lot of criticism over the weekend. He's a player that he's got ability. He definitely has ability. Does he have the leadership skills to grab these guys together away from home, especially, and go, we need to stay resolute here, or at 70 minutes, we're 3-2 up, we need to stay together? Do you think Dara has that in him?
Some players, having the skipper's armband actually makes him a worse player. And I think we saw that when Connor Chaplin was given the armband and he had a terrible game. And I was like, no, he's the kind of player, he just needs to concentrate on his game. Dara, I think he has got leadership ability. I think he is a strong player, but it just seems that, if he can just do the simple things well, then that's fine. He can concentrate on the leader. But when he loses possession on the edge of our own box, when he gives away a slack pass across the ball, who's going to grip him? And you say we had Burgess in there who was quite vocal at the back before. I think the only time really we've seen it this season where a player stood up and balled somebody out big time is when Matasiwa had a go at Jayden, and Matasiwa wasn't the captain. And there has been people saying, he would have been a good captain in that position on the park. I don't know. It's a real difficult position. I don't think I know of many skippers who have lost the armband during the season. You almost hoping that, you don't want to hope, but it's like a case of O'Shea was suspended. Who's going to be the captain? Does such a good job, you keep him as a skipper. But that would be a difficult decision to make at this point, and we just have to rely on O'Shea's strength of character to come through. And I don't doubt that. It's just there are times we need him on the park to really turn that game around, and that hasn't always happened. And Saturday was a prime example of that. Definitely.
You bring in players like Daniel, who's got these leadership qualities, captain at such a young age, etc. It's get him involved. I know he didn't play many minutes this season, so it had to be a little bit of a getting him up to speed. But he's been at the club a good few weeks now. He's been involved in training. He's had a couple of appearances off the bench, and obviously started in the cup game. Now's the time. I think we need to see him against Watford. We need to see, if anything, for a little bit of leadership and character in there. It's been 37 games since we came from behind, Rich. I really thought that was going to be the one that when we went 3-2 up. I thought, oh, could we? Surely it has to happen eventually, and again, it didn't happen. Are we ever going to win from coming from behind, Rich?
We could have to, wouldn't we? We can't. You can't just keep not look. Football, it is all about stats, isn't it? And I think it's a stats overload now. But that's a damning indictment of. Look, I know there was a lot of the games were in the Premier League, but this season I think it's about 15 games now that when we've gone behind, and look, we've come twice yesterday. We've come back from behind, and then we've got ahead, and then we're on top. Look, it's probably one of them games where it was a bit of a crazy game. It was a bit of a basketball game, and you'd hope that you wouldn't have another game like that this season. We just sort of lost control of the game, and McKenna, he sort of spoke about game management, didn't he, Luke? And sometimes I think this team, they look good defensively, but we've always got a rick in us somewhere, and if you look at all the goals yesterday, I mean, the first goal, I mean, Dara's more interested in pointing at Kipre, and he needs to get closer. Is there a question there on the goalkeeper? Possibly. He's hit it well, Kiefer Moore. I think the goalkeeper, if he was a couple of yards forward, maybe. But we are masters of our own downfall, Luke. We continue to shoot ourselves in the foot. And I know if you're looking from the outside, and I've had a few people message me today about, but you're fourth in the league. You've got 2 games in hand. They're not a given. They're not a given that we're just going to get them 2 points, because it doesn't work that way. And I don't want to. We do overreact on a Saturday night after a defeat, and there's some wild things I've seen yesterday, but I will stick by my guns and say it is promotion or bust for McKenna. There has to be some accountability now. There has to be, because game changer have come in, and they've done some great things. And we all love Kieran for what he's given the football club, and he's given us some brilliant memories. But we hear it a lot. He's just got one way of playing. We're not hard to work out how we're going to play because we play the same style every week, don't we? We make the same substitutions, you know. We just sort of like for like. So he looked downcast yesterday. He's going to. We've just lost 5-3 and he's getting it in the ear from the fans as he's walking in. But it's up to everybody now. There's the moment in the League One season, Luke, we're away at Bristol Rovers. There sort of has to be a moment sometime in the season when you draw that line in the sand. And when they said afterwards, when Leaf come out and said they'd had discussions in the dressing room, yeah, I get all that. But why does it come to this? Why did Wrexham want it more than us? Why did they run harder than us? Why did they tackle more than us? You know, like you said, we've got everything to play for it. We have. It's promotion is still in our grasp. You know, it's not out of our hands yet. But to get there, it's going to take hard work, and sometimes it might not be pretty, and it might not be the perfect goal, and you've got to dig in these moments. But it comes back to mentality with me, and I still don't know what Ipswich Town are going to turn up, Luke. And we're 31 games into the season. Why? I'd ask why, and we can all say, yeah, it's a new group of players. We're nearly into March. You can't keep wheeling out them same excuses, you know. And we've got it all to prove. If we go up top two, brilliant. If we go up in the playoffs, brilliant. If we don't, in May, there's going to be some really, really hard questions. Have to be asked of McKenna, Mark Ashton, the recruitment. Everybody should come under the microscope. If we haven't failed yet, you know, we have to say that it is still all to play for. But like I say, go to Watford on Tuesday. We should be absolutely flying out them blocks. But will we? That is the thing. We don't know.
Yep, definitely. But you are right. The big question is, and I don't want to say any disrespect to McKenna here. He's been brilliant for the club. But the big question is, if we do not get promoted, is that McKenna's time done? I'd love everyone in the comments to say their opinion on that, because it's I think it's going to be split within the fan base. I really do believe it is. But what's your thoughts, Ian? If we do not get promoted this season, more because of the way, if we were playing really well, we had a lot of fight mentality and we didn't get promoted, you still have a lot that you can sort of buy into. But if we don't get promoted playing the way that we are with the mentality we are, do you then think, right, maybe it's time for McKenna to move on if we don't get promoted? I want to say a big if. We like Rich said, we haven't failed yet. What's your thoughts, Ian?
I mean, the project for him is to get us back in the Premier League, which is why he didn't leave, you know, when we got relegated. I would think that if we didn't make it back up to the Premier League at the end of this year, I don't think he'll be pushed. I think he'll probably jump, because I think that there are clubs looking for McKenna. Not making promotion, does it damage his stock value? I don't know, probably not that much. He's fairly well paid anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, a club came in for him who's already in the Premier League. So, you know, I mean, Glasner has mentioned again today about potentially being released by Crystal Palace. They've always been keen on him. There'll be a merry-go-round of managers come the end of the season anyway. He didn't want to leave the club because he wants to complete the project. Okay, so if we don't get promoted, he's completed the project. It's been a potential failure for him, but that would maybe give him closure. If we get promoted, obviously he's going to stay with us in the Premier League, because then he'll want to take it up that we're successful in the Premier League. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the managerial merry-go-round kind of gives us. I never would expect him, for example, to have left the club to go and join a team at the bottom of the Premier League mid-season. No, that was never going to happen. But certainly come the end of the season, when the decision's made whether we're going to go up or down, that's when he'll have to kind of decide, does he stay with the club another year in the Championship?
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, good, Kieran. I like that, Ian. A bit of there, mate. I think it's right. It all, for me, it all comes down to, if we don't get promoted, the reasons why. Because if it's, like I said, we need to have something to buy into, and if we are playing the way we're playing, the mentality is being questioned, etc., then there's not a lot for us to really get behind. But if we play really well for the last 15 games, get X amount of points, and it's just so happens that Borough and Coventry keep up their form, we miss out via the playoffs, which can be a bit of a lottery, then it's like, okay, maybe there is still something in the tank for McKenna, but we shall see. So it'll be interesting to see everybody's point of view. There's a few coming through already. it's again mixture, like we said. There's some saying that even if we do get promoted, maybe it's time for McKenna to go. Not so sure about that, but everyone's entitled to their opinions, and yeah, that's the beauty of football, isn't it? It's a game full of opinions. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to Watford away. A reaction needed. Definitely, Rich. We spoke about that earlier. What are you expecting from the game, and what's your heart and what's your head telling you? What's the score predictions, mate?
I always like going to Watford. I like going to Vicarage Road. Takes me back to I keep going back, Luke, to a couple of seasons ago when Sam Morsey scores that winner in front of us, and it was a moment. It might take a moment like that. You don't know. I want a performance. I want a performance, and I want a bit of passion from this team, and I don't see it. And one of my mates messaged me yesterday about McKenna never shows any emotion on the line. And I said, listen, he's been here 4 years. That's not Kieran McKenna. We know what his demeanour is, and if you're expecting that, I think that's not happening. But on the field, let's play with a bit of pace. I think we play too slow. We've spoken it before. Let's get that ball moving. It's all about the first goal for me, Luke. If we can go there and we can get ahead, I think it's a totally different game. Watford are a decent team. They got a new manager. Obviously, had a good win yesterday. They got a win and a draw. And they're one of them teams in that group, they're just hanging around outside the playoffs. But this time of the season, we're all looking now, aren't we, what these other teams are doing. We're looking what Borough and Coventry are doing, and Watford are probably looking like your Wrexhams, your Birminghams, all them teams around them. But I've said before, you can only do your own job. We need to be coming away from Vicarage Road on Tuesday night, and we need to have won the game, because we've got 3 games at home, Luke, after that. And I think we need to win the next 4 games. If we're going to get any chance of getting in the top 2, I really think we need to start stacking them wins up. Like, I know Borough have had a couple of decent, dodgy results lately, but they had 6 wins before that. Coventry early in the season won, was it 11 out of 12? We've not done that so far this season. Are we capable of doing it? I'm still to be proved that we are, but if we can, and for me, and you just hit the nail on the head there about, I want to be right in the mix until right at the end of the season. And if Coventry and Borough are better than us and we have to go in the playoffs, so be it. Don't let the season die a bit of a whimper and then you go into the playoffs sort of yeah, we're in the playoffs. Keep them 2 teams honest right till the end. And I can live with that. If they're better than us over 46 games, so be it. But we've got to go to Watford. We've got to win. We're winning 3-1.
3-1. Like it. And then, Ian, we've got Swansea. Swansea at home. They're a team that they like to play, so I'm hoping it's not going to be a low block game against us, which we get quite often at home. What are we expecting from the game, and what's your score predictions for Swansea, mate?
Burgess goal. I'm not sure who for, though. Actually, for Plotnik, isn't he? It's got it written all over it for him. I mean, the play we really should have gone for, be aggressive and got that guy, because again, like Kiefer Moore, the guy's got really good form this year. It's going to be interesting because a lot of the game on Saturday, the crowd will reflect the result on Tuesday. We're going to poor turnout against Watford. The crowd's going to be, the atmosphere will be an atmosphere, but it will be for the wrong reasons. So we need to go into the game Saturday, fresh off 3 points away at Watford. Big crowd coming in for we haven't had a game all month. So people have cash in their pockets to be able to get down to the ground. End of the month. Let's hope that is what it is. There's a good buzz and we can turn around and silence for Potnik, get maybe a clean sheet again just to get Walton's confidence back up. Because, on Saturday, 2 goals on your near post as a goalkeeper is a no-no, regardless of who the striker is. And he will be hurting over that one as well. So we need to see a good result Tuesday, follow up with that result on Saturday against Swansea. I'd like to think we can get clean sheet. I think it probably won't. So I'm going to probably go 2-1 Ipswich against Swansea. And fingers crossed that results go our way across the table as well. And we could actually be maybe even touching back into second position.
Yeah. That is the crazy thing. We do sit here obviously and say how we're disappointed with this, disappointed with that, but we are still amongst it. I think the main thing is the performances for me, and I think you boys are the same. If we were playing well and we were in that same position, points total, etc., you still have a lot more to buy into. But at the minute, we're just frustrated by the performances. There's someone in the chat, Swansea striker on form at the moment, so they agree with you, Ian. There's definitely something that we need to look at going into the Swansea game, try and keep him quiet. But it's all about us. We need to go and put a performance on in both games. Let's fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We put a run together, like you say, Rich, and we need to start that by winning away from home. So that'll be a start. Right, let's move on. A to Z. We're on to the letter R. There's quite a few to choose from, boys. So it'll be interesting to see who you've picked. Rich, we'll start with you, please, mate. And you can't do yourself, unfortunately. So apart from yourself, who are you going to go for?
The one that got away, Jordan Rhodes. I mean, he scored. He was prolific for the youth team. I remember his one goal for Town. I think it was against Cardiff at home. Roy Keane was a manager at the time. Look, we had Connor Wickham at the time, so I guess it was probably either or either. I think we sold him for what, 750 grand, which wasn't a great deal of money now in the transfer market. But he was prolific, Luke, wherever he went, and you always kept an eye on him, thinking, blimey, we needed a goal scorer. But he never... Look, it's a case of, look, maybe his face didn't fit. There's probably certain things going on at the club at that time. But he had a decent career, didn't he, wherever he went? Played for Norwich as well. So, yeah, my art was Jordan Rhodes.
Yeah, I see why. My memory serves me correctly. Yeah, it was 500, 750k, and then 18 months later, he moves for 8 million to Blackburn, and it's that was definitely one that got away. I think it was during the Roy Keane days, and there's less said about them sometimes is for the best. So, what about yourself, Ian? What's your letter R for Ipswich Town?
Well, I'll be looking at a manager, but not Roy Keane. This one will be the great Sir Bobby Robson. Again, I was very fortunate that I followed Ipswich, when he came to he'd been at the club for a while when I started following him, obviously. But again, he was just a fantastic manager. But it was in the days of, one sub on the bench and, almost guaranteed European football for the club as well. We just weren't fortunate enough to have made the millions out of it like the teams do now. But, he was a brilliant manager, and he was a man manager as well. He was really good at managing personalities on the park. But I don't think Ipswich, although we had like 5 or 6 internationals in the England team at one point, no one ever had an ego that upset the apple cart. And he was able to do that. And I think Kieran McKenna's got lots of similarities in that, respect. He's managed to bring in players that have not upset the chemistry too much. I say that because this season there's been a couple of wrinkles. But, you think about Sir Bobby Robson, it wasn't all blue skies. He started off pretty poorly and got a lot of abuse. Think back to after he won UEFA Cup, where he accused the Cobbold stand of being zombies, when the crowd was really, really slow and people were leaving early. So, he had his ups and downs as well. And he obviously left to go to the England job as well. But I think, that job that came for him to go was at a good time in his kind of career where there was a few grumbles. And again, might see the same McKenna. The end of the season, he may get asked to take on Northern Ireland. Who knows? But so Bobby Robson.
Yeah, brilliant. Legend of the club. As a young Ipswich fan, when you're reading your Ipswich Bible, he's one of the first names that comes up, isn't he? He's everyone knows everything about the man, and what a legend. He's highly spoke of throughout the club and throughout football, really. So great guy, great manager. Brilliant. Right, we're finishing on Tweet of the Week, and it's from the Suffolk Crunch. That name seems
My Twitter's been really busy this weekend. I've had some wild things I've been tweeting. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say this is a wild one. I think this is a good question, and it is a question. It's have we become entitled as a fan base? I want to know whereabouts we at in the poll at the moment. So, what's the data?
The poll so far, we're just under 600 votes. We've still got 15 hours left. So if you want to vote, head over. I'm quite surprised. So have we become an entitled fan base? 66% are saying yes, we have, and 34% are saying that we haven't. So there you go.
So probably entitled to saying no.
I don't think we're entitled. I get, look, everyone's got an opinion, and certain people think, as the the football club as a whole, we're doing well and we're looking good, and we are. Look, there's a lot of things happening. New training ground coming, new stand will be coming eventually. I think that's probably a little bit down the line, Luke, if I'm honest. You know, I think we need, the goal is to establish ourselves in the Premier League, but that's hard, and we've got to get back there first. And at the minute, we're losing our heads. We've just lost 5-3 at Wrexham. When we wake up Monday morning, we need to park that Wrexham game, and you've got a fresh week, and you're playing Watford. But I just think, I don't think we're entitled. I just think your expectation has been raised now, because we have been spoiled in the Premier League. It was a struggle, and I think we'll all admit that it was going to be anyway. Then we've been away for so long, but the 2 seasons before that was fantastic, and certain fans of a certain generation had never seen Town do anything, so that was great. But your bar's been raised now. The bar has been raised, and it's good that you want to aim high. You've got to have expectation. For so long, we were just stagnating and just going nowhere. We've had new owners come in, which is fantastic. But now the pressure is on. You know, it's that pressure now as well, that the players know that they were made bookies' favourites, Luke, the day after we were relegated. You know, and that looks a bit, you think, blimey, we've just finished, second bottom of the Premier League. But because we signed a lot of players that were very good players at this level. And I mean, if you look yesterday, you've got Greaves, a lot of money was spent for Greaves. You've got Egeli, didn't get on the pitch. You've got a 27-goal striker from who played at Borough, couldn't get on the pitch. We've got so many riches at the minute, and we're very, very fortunate as a football club. But I don't think we're entitled. I just expect a little bit more. Maybe people might think that my expectation is just a little bit sort of more than theirs. But like you say, it's football. That's why we love it. Everyone's got an opinion, haven't they, at the end of the day? And no one's right and nobody's wrong. I think we all like to be right sometimes.
No, I agree. I think it's an expectation thing rather than entitledness. I think we understand the journey that the club's gone through, but when you're spending the amount that we spend, the players that we've got, and again, I feel like I've said the word performances 400 times throughout this show, but that's what it is for me. I want to see better performances. And can we touch
on Leif Davis's comments before we go, Luke?
Yeah, we got time to let's get into it. It's something that I think needs. Why is that not something that happens during the game? It's all right saying it after the game, but during the game we need to see that mentality. What did you think to the comments, Rich?
I thought he was really honest.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes things like that, maybe it's best kept in the dressing room, something like that. It surprised me that when he said that they'd had discussions in the dressing room afterwards, Matt Seaver was one of them. I'm thinking, where's your captain? You know, it should come from him. You're going in there. And look, football is... We're not playing on the Sunday morning on the park. It's a passionate game. And if they have to call a few people out in the dressing room, I've not got a problem with that, you know. But what I would say was, why? Why did Wrexham want it more than us? Why were they running more? Why were they tackling more than us? Because we knew what to expect. We played Wrexham twice already, Luke. It was hardly a surprise how they were going to play. So, and like you said at the start of the show, we were just sort of playing like we were in the mid-table, that we've got nothing to play for. That's just, it isn't really good enough, is it? And I know as a fan, I hear this when your team doesn't play well away from home. Oh, they should refund the fans. I don't agree with that. You go to a game, you know, you're going to get good, you're going to get bad. And I was frustrated yesterday. I had a long day. I've been at work. It was a long day. And I don't mind losing, because you're going to lose football matches. It's just the way we lose, you know. If we go out and you give 100% and the opposition are better than you, I can take that. And like I said earlier there, if in the remaining 14, 15 games, Coventry and Middlesbrough are better than us, so be it, you know. But let's give it our all. Right till that last game against, I think it's QPR, you know. Let's keep right in that mix. And we've got talented players, but talent is only going to get you so far, isn't it? If you don't put the hard work in, it's not a given just turning up and thinking, oh, yeah, we're better than this team today. We'll show it then by running more, by working harder. You know, don't just think that, oh, we've got a Jack Clark or we've got a Mehmeti who's just going to pull out a bit of magic and they're going to stick one in the top corner. No, let's dig in when it gets tough and when it gets difficult. And like you said, that stat about not winning from going behind, we need to turn that round. We need to turn it round, and we need to turn it around really soon. You know, it'd be great if we played the remaining games and we scored the first goal, but that's not going to happen, and that's not football. You know, so there's going to be tough moments, but I'm really expecting them to come out flying on Tuesday night, because we haven't got many more from the start that we had. You know, we had a slow start, didn't we? And that's for a number of reasons. We signed players late in the window. We had like Hutchinson. We spoke about that a couple of weeks ago, but that does count in your season. So we can't make many more mistakes, Luke, because we're behind the 8 ball as it is. We've got 2 games in hand, which are not a given. We just need to be better.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Ian? We've got a little bit of time left. Leafs comments. Are we entitled, or is the expectation? And what would you want to see going into Watford?
If ever we needed the fans forum, it's this week. And I would want to see Dara O'Shea on that fans forum. I don't want some crop player coming on saying about how his recovery is coming on. I don't want the chief freaking finance officer saying, well, you know, I've been watching them. I don't care. I want Dara O'Shea on that stage saying, guys, I hear you. Trust me, I am balling out the players who aren't picking up. And if I've done it, I ball myself out. I don't need Leaf to come on there. He always wears his lemon heart on his sleeve, bless him. You know, it should be Dara O'Shea. That's one of your jobs as a captain. You know, you take the flak from the fans if results. The manager takes the flak from the chairman if he doesn't get the results. That's how it works. Always has done. Always will do. So, you know, Dara O'Shea should be pushing himself to those prezzies after the press conferences after the match. He never goes on camera. He always avoids them. So let's get him in front of the camera just to kind of reassure us, you know. Yeah. And entitlement, I think maybe it's rubbed off from Mark Ashton. He's such a confident guy, you know. Sees us as a Premier League club already. We need to maybe have a bit of a check on that one and just kind of remember where we were 3 years ago. Everything will work out, always does. You know, we're in a much better place than we were 5 years ago, and that's what we must always remember, you know. There's a brighter future, and the future's blue.
Yeah, definitely. Well said, Ian. Lovely, great chat as always, boys. Thank you everybody for watching at home. There's so much to get involved in the comments. Leafs comments after the game. Do you think it's promotion or bust for McKenna? Are we an entitled fan base? Please get involved in the comments below. Thank you.